No way. Mabian flatly refused. Impossible. A loyal guardian never abandons their master. You know they can't survive on their own. But your case is different, I don't. The only thing I know for sure is the truth about myself. Besides that, I know nothing. Thinking, that's right, if you consider Stu's true age. He's just a newly hatched dragon. A dragon's growth process is very long, at least 100 years. Some even take up to 500 years. From the moment they hatch. Dragon hatchlings are cared for by their mothers for hundreds of years, and only then do they truly enter adulthood, becoming a true dragon. So, this commander is no different from a newborn. Moreover, it's possible he has human blood in him, but that form is just a shell, a mimicry for survival. Why wouldn't the black dragon protect its own bloodline? Could it be that it doesn't want to protect? The scene shifts to Mabian and Estio talking to each other. The mission is complete. We should return, Mabian says. Estio, why do you insist on staying with the guild? Mabian places a hand on his chest, speaking sincerely. At least you should come back with me. My territory is much safer than this place. Estio calmly replies. Perhaps I'm not the creature you think I am. Everything that has happened so far, however unbelievable, is true, and I'm not sure I want to delve any deeper. Please leave. Mabian still tries to persuade Estio. He starts to say something, but then stops, the last trace of the dragons flashing through his mind. The master he had been searching for all this time. But what if all his efforts so far had been in vain? He clenches his fist, lost in thought. Is the Hyga clan truly that incompetent? Estio suddenly speaks. However, in the future, I will definitely contact you again. I implore you to return and resume your duties. When the time comes, I will summon you. Estio spoke formally to Mabian. I swear, a voice echoed, signaling a shift to the headquarters. Get some rest, Estio. Uhuru and Najura, standing beside Estio, urged him. White papers fluttered through the air. The vice president said to him, rest up, the president wants to see you. He'll be looking for you soon. Get some rest before then. He stared blankly at the vice president. He approached Estio, handed him a blanket, and said, this is precious to me, but I want you to have you never experienced the joy of being wrapped in a blanket, rolling around in bed? Estio stood still, his face full of wonder. He added, try reading a book in a warm room. Now that you have a blanket, you can crack open a window for a breeze. You can nibble on some snacks, lounge around, and after waking up, enjoy a chocolate bar. Would you like anything else from my room? Stio, clutching a blanket, remained silent. The vice president turned to leave, but looked back and added, it's all right. Get some rest. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. The president will come see you later. Heeding the vice president's advice, Stio entered the warm room. Suddenly, Nazura called out to him. Stio softly replied, yeah. Nazura continued, are you really okay? If you don't want to talk about your family anymore. Stio just mumbled in response and quietly walked away. Even though they had put him through so much pain, the cactus was still fuming. How could they? It was so angry. Smoke practically poured from it. I can't stand this anymore. I'll go back and shove my spines down their throats. It turned to Uhuru and declared, even if they change, I won't. There's no need to change a thing. That's right. There's no need to change anything. The scene shifts to the next morning. Estio suddenly opened his eyes, his gaze pensive as he stared at the ceiling. He thought to himself, he'd never experienced this game before. What should he do now? After a moment of contemplation, he sat up and prepared to get out of bed. He reached out and threw open the window. Estio stood silently, observing the surroundings through the window. Suddenly, a strange sound caught his attention. Tall buildings crowded closely together around it. Under the shade of a tree, Estio sat lost in thought on a stone bench. Suddenly, a voice called out, huh? A moment later, Parker appeared, with Lena waving at their commander. Lena spoke up. Hold on a second. I'm going to go greet the commander you're always praising. Huh? Should I go say hello too? Parker suddenly fell in a deep thought. I'm afraid we might disturb him if we both go. He's probably enjoying a quiet moment alone. He observed Sushio intently. I really can't understand what he's feeling right now. Then, Rena left, saying, I'll go greet him myself. Parker approached Sushio. He called out, Commander, then kindly asked, have you eaten yet? Sushio seemed surprised. Is it lunchtime already? Parker replied, yes, actually it's a little past lunchtime. I'm waiting for a friend to finish working. He continued with a smile. I'm on a break, just like you. Sushio responded, is that so? Then, Parker suggested, why don't we have lunch together? He added, need you, Uhuru, and Kitten too. Sushio wondered, me too? He asked Parker, would it be a bother if I joined you all? Parker immediately denied it. Not at all. He reassured Sushio, "You don't have to worry about that. These shameless bastards surely won't." Suddenly, Lena quietly approached, standing right behind him. Estio, seeing her, greeted her. "Oh, fancy meeting you here." Parker whipped around to look at Lena with a stunned expression. "What? You two know each other?" He spoke softly. "It seems." He stepped closer to Estio, gazing intently at him. This face, so familiar yet so strange. Suddenly, Lena realized something. A bright smile spread across his lips. "Ah, that's right. Estio, your face has always been etched in my memory, because it's so unique." He recalled memories of the past, then smiled again. Estio called out to him, "Lena, aha, so you still remember me?" He spoke to Estio, his voice filled with joy. "I thought you were killed by that white-furred monster, but you're still alive. It's so good to see you again." Then he began to tell a story about a creature with pure white fur. "Even though I meticulously searched every nook and cranny across the entire mountain, the creature with the white fur vanished without a trace. Everyone believed the boy had been devoured by the monster." Lena continued the story. "I never thought we'd see each other again like this." Suddenly, Nizu popped his head out from behind Sto's chair. Lena, seeing him, was utterly terrified and screamed with a pale face, "Fur! White fur!" Sensing the distress, Parker comforted Lena. "Calm down, Lena. Nizu is the commander's companion." Lena observed Nizu, who was looking at her with innocent, sparkling eyes. "Companion? That white fur monster?" He then turned to Stio. "Stio, so you tamed that beast with your mind-reading abilities?" "What?" he exclaimed in astonishment. "Impressive. Much more than I expected." He exclaimed in astonishment. "Good heavens, you're the commander of the SAO guild?" Parker stood beside him, a helpless expression on his face, and gently reminded him, "Lena, you're being incredibly rude. Even if you're the combat division's ace, you should still show respect to the commander. This kind of behavior could seriously drop your rank." After hearing Parker, Lena still looked confused, unsure of what was going on. Lena inquired, "Rank? What ranking are you talking about?" Parker replied confidently, "Exactly what you're thinking. The guild's ranking. You know, causing trouble leads to demotion or expulsion, right?" Estio suddenly spoke up. "Parker, go eat with your friend." Parker asked in surprise, "Huh? Aren't you coming with us, Estio?" Estio replied, "I'll go on my own. It'll be uncomfortable for everyone if I stay." He added, "I'm also not comfortable with you talking to Niju like that." The three of them looked at Estio with helpless expressions. Afterwards, they said their goodbyes and left one by one. Lena lingered, seemingly lost in thought, then called out to Estio, "Hey, Commander Estio." Hearing his name, he turned around. "Was there something else?" Lena bowed her head, her expression utterly sincere. "I apologize." Estio looked at her blankly, waiting for an explanation. She spoke. "It's not that I was uncomfortable, but I was too surprised to see it. I promise I won't call it the white fluffy thing anymore, and I haven't quite adjusted to someone I know becoming my commander. For now on, I will call you Captain." She looked up, her gaze directed at Estio and Nizu. "So, please don't misunderstand me. To show my sincerity, I'll treat everyone to lunch today. Since we're already out, I'll take everyone to the best restaurant." An enthusiastic voice rang out from inside an old-fashioned building. "This is Rivendell's most famous restaurant." Lena cheerfully waved over a waiter. She generously said to Estio, "Let me order for you. Trust me, this is the most popular dish here." Estio exclaimed in surprise, "Oh, really?" Lena immediately replied, "Absolutely." Estio quietly stared at Aharu, thinking to himself, he's unusually quiet today. Aharu really didn't have any reaction. He was completely motionless, looking just like an ordinary cactus. Nothing more, nothing less. Estio was extremely worried. Is he hurting somewhere? Suddenly, a voice cut through his gloomy thoughts. "Excuse me, it seems like Zen is really curious." So he asked the cactus directly how old it is. Estio stammered, "I've never asked it, so I don't know." Zen wasn't about to let it go, continuing to inquire, "I wonder why." Zen's face remained calm, his voice even and unwavering. "You could know without asking." As soon as the words left her mouth, Jin's expression darkened, becoming somber and withdrawn. Estio stared intently at Jin, silently assessing her. "This is strange. I can't read any emotion from her whatsoever." He didn't want to beat around the bush, so he went straight to the point, asking directly, "Are you an AI?" Lena, who was standing nearby, suddenly stepped closer, introducing Jin to Estio. "Jin isn't human. She's a homunculus, created by the guild master." Estio was utterly astonished. Parker, Svarig's puppet, joined the conversation. He smiled, asking in return, "Huh, you didn't know?" Then he began to explain himself, elaborating on Jin's origins. Captain Ignis is the greatest puppeteer in the world, carefully observing every detail of Jin's face, from her eyes and hair to her nose and lips. Estio couldn't help but exclaim in astonishment, except the fact that he couldn't understand her range of emotions made her seem all the more like a real person. Curious, he asked Lena how he could tell she was a doll. Lena didn't answer directly, but softly said, "Observe Jin more closely." Sure enough, when he focused on Jin's face, Estio easily spotted a tiny star just beneath her eyelid. Lena casually continued, "See the small tattoo on her eye? All the dolls crafted by the guildmaster bear that mark for easy identification." He leaned his hand on the table, his tone tinged with a hint of melancholy. "Well, don't mind her too much. After all, a doll is just a doll," Lena advised Estio, but it seemed she was also reminding herself. A doll only obeys the commands of its master and feels no pain. It wouldn't be good to treat her like a human. Lena glanced at the enticing plate of food that had just been served, adding, "I speak from experience, so you can put your trust in me." Just then, the restaurant server spoke up. "Your food is here." Lena cheered excitedly, drawing out her words, "Ooh-hoo." Stio was lost in thought, like a lifelike but soulless doll. When the food was fully laid out on the table, Lena cheerfully called to Estio. Parker, seeing this, chimed in, "All right, Estio, everyone dig in." Nazura's eyes sparkled like 1,000 stars in the night sky. She couldn't contain her joy. "Everything looks so delicious." Estio looked at the fragrant, beautiful dishes before him, then nodded in agreement. "Yes." The group began to eat heartily. As Parker was about to take a bite of fish, his ears suddenly perked up, as if he had just heard a strange sound. He looked at Estio, who had been sitting motionless until now, a questioning look on his face, then asked, "Commander, why aren't you eating?" Suddenly realizing something, he was startled. "Can't you eat it raw?" Hearing that, Lena was suddenly terrified. "Just as I thought. We should have asked before ordering." The young man quickly thought of a solution. How about we order some cooked dishes?" Estio gently refuted. "That's not." He seemed about to say something, but then stopped. He turned away and muttered dejectedly, It's not to my taste." He silently glanced at the plates piled high with food. The dishes still looked incredibly appealing, but to him, they looked horrifying. He couldn't stop thinking about the creatures being butchered alive, just minutes ago, or even just seconds ago. His gaze at the food darkened, filled with a deep-seated fear. Pure terror. And the agony was evident on the face of a being that once brimmed with life. The atmosphere around him suddenly became heavy, gloomy, and desolate. I can only see it as a machine of hatred. But then he quickly dispelled the chaotic thoughts, trying to push them out of his mind. After all, it wasn't something he needed to worry about right now. He returned to his conversation with Lena and Parker. "And I'm not really hungry." Parker still seemed to disagree, trying to persuade him once more. But Sio quickly interrupted. "It's all right." The party ended with Parker unable to sway Sio's decision. He turned to Lena in frustration and scolded her. "Lena, it's all your fault. Even though the vice president told us to take good care of..." Commander Lena scratched his head helplessly. I know. If I had known, this wouldn't have happened." Parker could only hold his head in despair. "Oh my God!" Lena hesitantly spoke up. "What are we going to do now?" Stio stood beside them, quietly observing, not interfering. He listened to the conversation unfolding between the other two. He leaned down slightly and kindly asked Niju, "Can you walk on your own?" Niju cheerfully replied. Witnessing this scene, an idea suddenly struck Parker. He excitedly suggested, "Commander, why don't we take this opportunity to show you around the city a bit?" Looking out at the wide, clean streets, the closely packed houses, Parker enthusiastically persuaded him. "You haven't been stationed at headquarters for long, have you? Since then, you've been buried in work, and probably haven't had a chance to go out at all." Parker was genuinely concerned for Stio, and more importantly, these past few days. He seemed quite exhausted after completing the recent mission. Lena confidently assured him, "Don't worry, giving city tours is my specialty." The playful young man winked at Estio, a confident grin on his face. The exciting scene before him made Estio's hair stand on end. Lena cheerfully ran over and slung an arm around Estio's shoulder, a bright smile on her lips. "Let's go." Commander, you don't have any important duties today, do you? As he spoke, he gestured towards the brightly lit city. All right then, let's get going. Estio asked curiously, go where? Lena smiled smugly, her eyes twinkling. She began her role as tour guide. Actually, our guild has a long-standing tradition, passed down from long ago, from the very beginning of the guild. His face was filled with an unusual excitement and vibrancy. It's our new member welcoming tradition. Estio showed no emotion, only silently observing Lena intently. Parker, on the other hand, was extremely excited. He excitedly chimed in, that's right. And then he confirmed it himself. I've been through this too. Then, Lena shared with ST a bunch of information about the new recruit welcoming ceremony. Iconic images of this city came to life vividly through Lena's words. From the humble homes of the residents to the clock tower, the enduring symbol of the city, and even the bustling stalls along the streets. Usually, we would ask the newcomer to take a tour around headquarters to get a good grasp of the citadel structure. After that, they would be called upon randomly to answer questions about the city, about the most massive sculpture in the square, the most famous candy store, and countless other similar questions. Lena twirled her finger, as if painting illustrative pictures in the air. If you can't come up with the answer, they'll make you run laps around, until sweat poured down like rain, soaking him to the bone. He finally burst into hearty laughter. Since you've never gone through rookie training, I, Lena, will guide you. Stio calmly confirmed. Is that so? Then, he bowed his head respectfully, showing his sincerity. Then please guide me. Lena confidently pointed at herself. Just follow me. I'll take you to Rivetal, the safest and most prosperous castle. Right now, I'll give you a tour. Estio didn't object, quickly agreeing. All right. Parker suddenly noticed something else. He exclaimed, wait, why are you holding the commander's arm like that? Zen quietly walked behind, calmly observing the boisterous group. Zen looked at Stio from behind, a faint smile playing on his lips. A stunning smile bloomed on her lips. Lena thought to herself, the commander is truly a kind person. Warm sunlight bathed the bustling, prosperous city. A peaceful atmosphere, filled with joy, permeated every corner. Lena announced, this is the famous midday sun street. She excitedly added, the most interesting thing is, the sun travels along this street at noon. Let's take a carriage ride and explore. Estio looked around and gently shook his head in refusal. No, thank you. Lena looked at him curiously. But, Commander, you've been observing for a while now. Are you looking for something? Estio looked up at Lena and asked, is there a center here that specializes in plant health checkups, like checking their condition? Lena looked at Estio in surprise. She glanced at the cactus, a huru, in Estio's arms and pondered. If it's about plants, Lena hesitantly suggested, there's a beautiful botanical garden, but the manager there always seems busy. I'm not sure if we can see him right now. Stio politely asked, would you mind taking us there? Lena immediately broke into a bright smile, cheerfully replying, now I see that guiding Mr. Hui Theo is actually quite worthwhile. Mr. Hung enthusiastically announced to the group, trust in me, follow me. The doctor looked at him sympathetically, trying to cover up Lena's previous awkwardness. He's always so full of energy, isn't he? He replied indifferently, unconcerned. It's fine. The doctor rubbed his head in exasperation, sighing. He's like an untamed colt. It's unfortunate that everyone in the guild nicknamed him. Lena, beautiful, handsome Stio. His eyes widened in surprise when he heard Lena's nickname. Byakjin watched Lena skipping ahead of them and hurriedly explained that in quite the frenzy, actually, he laughed loudly, telling him, just hearing the name is enough to make one imagine a beautiful woman, a breathtaking beauty. So, we often use it to tease newcomers. I was tricked like that too. Lena, walking ahead, noticed that Estio's group had fallen quite far behind and turned around to shout, what are you two doing? Don't tell me you're talking about me. Parker smiled and replied, yes, we're coming. Estio silently looked at a huru nestled in his arms, remaining quiet. The scene shifted to a lovely garden within a pristine White House. Parker asked curiously, the door is open? Lena quickly replied, because this is a botanical garden sponsored by the guild, so you can think of it as a public garden. CO's group was leisurely strolling down the path leading into the garden. Lena continued, if that's the case, then anyone can come here and enjoy the flowers. Beck Gi looked around in awe, exclaiming, this is my first time visiting this botanical garden. The peaceful atmosphere, The sun-drenched scenery made him express his admiration. Unlike animals, plants don't move or talk. Baek Ji suddenly turned around and asked Seo, who was walking behind him. A thought just occurred to me. Does the person in charge of these plants have the ability to communicate with them? Seo replied indifferently. I don't know. Baek Ji asked in surprise. What? Lena also turned around and asked curiously. Don't you have the ability to sense the thoughts of animals? Why is it more difficult to do that with plants? Seo looked at the cactus he was holding and slowly explained. I can't always hear them. That could happen if I just look at it or have any contact with it. Lena's eyes widened in realization. The more you talk, the more fascinating this sounds. Suddenly, he placed his hand on the trunk of a large tree. Lena asked innocently, Now I understand what this guy's talking about. He stared intently at the enormous tree. Sunlight filtered through the leaves, creating shimmering, ethereal rays. Estio lowered his head in response. If I could, I wouldn't want to hear it. Lena stared blankly at the silent Estio, thinking, why? He fell in a deep thought. If I could read the thoughts of all things, I would become incredibly curious and want to read everything. A voice called out. It welcomed him. Parker and Lena exclaimed in unison. Zen! She called out his name. Estio and Zen faced the tree. It welcomed them all. Leaves began to fall from the trees. A voice echoed through the air. It's a pleasure to meet you, last descendant of the Black Clan. It's such a relief to know you're safe. A leaf gently landed on his hair, like a soft greeting. Estio reached out and plucked the leaf, examining it in his palm before gently turning it over. He turned to the girl and asked, Ian, how can you hear the voice of the trees? She calmly replied, Because I was born from a tree. He was surprised, then lowered his head in thought. So she doesn't have the same ability as me. Ian approached Estio, softly suggesting, Try listening to the tree roots. Estio immediately refused. No, I'm fine. She asked curiously, Why do you hate trees? He shook his head, denying it. It's not like that. Estio's face clouded with melancholy as he answered her. Surely they wouldn't want their thoughts casually probed. The hidden pain in his heart suddenly became clear. Estio struggled to speak, each word a heavy effort. To read someone's heart against their will is a violation, a form of mental assault. Jen asked, puzzled, assault? What do you mean? Every cold shoulder, every instance of being pushed around, the harsh words, the humiliation of the past, all came flooding back, tormenting him. Estio answered heavily, yes. Jen stepped closer to Estio, gently persuading him. Trees can't talk if you don't listen to them. Estio looked up at her, surprised. Jen began to explain, even if they want to express something, even if they have countless stories to share, even when they're withering, dying of thirst, they still can't speak. She slowly took off her hat and said, That is the fate of trees. Jen's face brightened, a warm smile blooming for him. Do you understand? To us, your existence is a gift from God. Stio looked at her, about to reply, when a piercing scream suddenly rang out, interrupting everyone. Green Jun flew into a rage, bellowing at the group. You kids, what in the world are you doing in this garden? Parker quickly lowered his head, admitting his fault. I sincerely apologize. Rena accidentally touched a tree without permission. Rena stood behind him, frozen stiff, stammering. Why are you blaming me? He rushed over in a panic, shouting, No, not the tree he pointed at. Nizu and urgently said, You're stepping on the flowers. She jumped, letting out a cry of alarm, and quickly lifted her foot. A poor flower had met its untimely end. Nizu stumbled back, avoiding stepping on other flowers in the cluster, mumbling, I'm sorry. Another crack echoed, making her flinch. Green Jun looked at the pitiful little flower, lying lifeless beneath Nizu's foot, and unconsciously snapped the broom handle with his incredible strength. He clutched his head in agonizing pain, watching his precious child scream. This is so tragic. In the lush botanical garden, sunlight filtered through the leaves, creating a picturesque scene. Lena repetelu apologiseth. We sincerely apologize, Manager Green. Suppressing his pain, he replied. Lena, is that you? You're still wandering around as a mercenary because you still haven't made a name for yourself? He retorted loudly. What are you talking about? I'm quite famous. Lena forced a proud smile. I'm a captain of the combat division. I have a lot of missions and valuable items now. Manager, it's so inappropriate to bring up the past in front of my commander. In front of the commander. Green curiously looked up and asked him. The old man observed the group. Stio pondered for a moment, then spoke. Could it be that you are? His eyes fixed on the boy, his face filled with astonishment. Impossible. Could you be the newly appointed commander of the guild, the one recently promoted? Buren beamed, extending a hand to shake his. I am Buren Zir, although I still lack experience. I am in charge of caring for and managing this magnificent botanical garden. Estio replied calmly, I am Estio. A sudden thought emerged from the nearby tree as it witnessed their hands clasped together. Someone who can understand the hearts of others. Looking at the genuine and warm smile on Juren's face, it marveled. How wonderful. I should ask him what these children are thinking. Stio froze, stunned by the tree's naive thoughts. He remained speechless. The scene changed. Buren was meticulously observing a cactus through a magnifying glass. He pondered, a low murmur escaping his lips. Parker stood beside him, quickly inquiring about the examination. How is Ahuru's condition? He examined it carefully and replied, It's a bit complicated. Hearing that, Parker let out a sound of dissatisfaction, his expression questioning. Green observed it once over. This cactus is named Ahuru. It has been very well cared for. He looked at the potted plant on the table with a puzzled expression, then explained. It hasn't lacked water or nutrients. Outwardly, its health is perfectly normal. Parker asked suspiciously, Then why isn't it in good condition? He stroked his chin, shaking his head in denial. No, I don't know why, but it looks strangely weak. Green turned to Estio, asking for permission. Commander, may I take this plant out of the pot and examine its roots? A strange sound emanated from the roots. He looked down at Ahuru on the table in bewilderment. Green was stunned. His face was a mask of shock and astonishment as he realized the source of the mysterious voice. Ahuru swayed slightly and said playfully, Hey, messing with my AI core is a serious offense, you know? Pervert. As quick as a flash, he stumbled backward, his face a picture of horror, yelling, Oh my God. Green stammered, his voice barely a whisper, Pervert. The madam said that about me? What's going on? Parker exclaimed in astonishment. Aren't people usually surprised about other things? He suddenly realized the main point and immediately yelled again. Wait, now that I think about it, that cactus is talking. Ahuru swayed uncomfortably. What are you looking at? First time seeing a talking cactus? It got so angry that its entire body turned red, its mind already filled with a dozen insults for Green. He rushed forward to intervene. Ahuru stopped, swallowing back the harsh words it was about to say. Fine. There. Sayo patted its head, comforting it gently. You seem a bit more unwell than usual. So I asked him to check on you. Ahuru was curious. Who is this doctor? He looked towards the man and introduced. He's a botanist. Blank. This line was undefined in the original script. The man was Bryn Zir. Ahuru exclaimed in astonishment. You're really a plant specialist. Bryn hesitantly replied, Yes. It pondered for a moment, then spoke. Could you examine my roots from the bottom of the pot? Would pulling me out of the pot be too cruel for a tree like me? Tiny roots began to emerge from the bottom of the pot, swaying gently in the air. Bryn carefully examined them. He gently touched Ahuru's roots and concluded, You're perfectly healthy. Ahuru replied cheerfully, See, I'm just a little sleepy. I'm very healthy. There's nothing to worry about. Bryn said suspiciously, Sleepy? He looked at it and asked, Young man, just to be sure, but how old are you? Ahuru shyly covered his face and mumbled, 200. Mr. Geo suddenly appeared, laughing loudly. Impossible. This cactus has lived for 200 years. The cactus looked at him, surprised, and spoke. What? You don't believe me? Ahuru, full of spirit, affirmed confidently. To be precise, I'm even older than that. It's just been 200 years since I've lived alone, and in my tribe, I'm still considered young. Green's eyes widened in astonishment. Oh my goodness! He excitedly jumped to his feet, turning to report to Commander Sushio. This little guy is an incredibly rare plant, a species thought to be long extinct. A giant cactus. The boy asked in surprise, What's that? Green began to explain the origins of the cactus. It's an enormous and beautiful desert flower. It's believed that every 1,000 years, it bears a magical fruit. Ahuru was startled when he heard him say, What? Our kind is extinct. What? But my mother and everyone else are still alive back home. Juren couldn't believe it. He exclaimed, How can you still sound so enthusiastic while reporting this to him? From what I've observed, Ahuru's current dormant state is a deep slumber brought on by a developmental period. But then, he turned serious, reminding him, Because this is the first time I've encountered a giant cactus. I can't be entirely certain. Estio looked at him curiously and asked, how long will this sleep last? Jurin answered him, I need to analyze the data on this matter to give you a precise answer. I only know that great cacti, throughout their 1,000-year lifespan, go through several extended periods of deep sleep. Sayo turned and softly called out, Ahuru. He gently explained to Ahuru, this is the botanical garden at the guild's headquarters. I'll ask them to take good care of you and keep you safe until your hibernation period is over. So rest easy. A greenhouse fully equipped with amenities and bathed in sunlight is truly an ideal environment for plants. However, Ahuru adamantly refused the offer. No, I don't want to. Stio bent down and gently asked Ahuru for his opinion. If you don't feel comfortable staying here, I can also ask Haiga, because Mabian is very strong. Before Stio could finish, Ahuru interrupted him, his voice full of resentment. Does my being near you bother you? Stio was so surprised he couldn't speak. Then he patted Ahuru's head, comforting him. That's not, it's just, I interrupted you again. Ahuru firmly expressed his determination to Stio. I don't want to sleep. I will never sleep. It tilted slightly, gently rubbing against his warm hand. He pondered silently. Because I'm worried about Estio, he confessed. The moment of departure had arrived. Estio's group had to leave. Green gave him some instructions regarding Ahuru. It's a special kind of plant, sentient, Green explained, and can even move, he added. However, we can't be entirely sure about that. Green seriously explained the possible consequences, but continuously refuted, letting Ahuru fall into a deep sleep, as it could cause some health problems. I hope you remember this, Green emphasized. Understood, he replied. Green looked at Ahuru, who nestled in his palm, then continued. Although plants may seem simple, when you look closer, they're just as complex and diverse as animals. Sunlight streamed through the window panes, further enhancing the beauty of each plant. Each flower, Green murmured, has its own habitat. Size, gender, age, or even the shape of its leaves can be different. This makes each individual completely unique. He smiled affectionately at Ahuru, exclaiming with deep emotion, although, young one, this boy could use his special communication ability to gain some advantage. Green handed Estio a small pouch, carefully instructing him. I prepared some nutrients and topsoil for you. They will be very useful. Parker accepted the pouch, politely replying, thank you, sir. Green suddenly remembered something, rummaging in his coat pocket before saying, one more thing. A letter, carefully preserved in a glass vial, was handed to Estio. He explained, these are instructions written for you by the guild leader himself. Estio looked at Green, who was offering him the glass vial, and asked unexpectedly, did you know I was coming? Green scratched his head, chuckling sheepishly. Not at all. I was only notified a little while before you arrived. Blank. Commander. The young man took the glass vial, his eyes studying its contents for a long moment, lost in thought. Stio suddenly realized something unsettling. A thought crossed his mind. Am I being watched? As if reading Stio's mind, Bryn quickly waved her hands, speaking up in defense. Don't misunderstand. The guild master isn't just observing you. She cares about all the guild members. Curious, Stio immediately asked a question. Bryn began to explain about the enigmatic guild master. She's a master puppeteer. The number of puppets she openly controls is estimated to be over 1,000. Parker crept closer, whispering in Stio's ear. Actually, it could be even more than that. He continued, his voice low. Because puppets break easily and quickly become useless, she has to constantly create many more. Stio opened the letter, carefully reading the words inside. A letter bearing the insignia of the XNIS Society. The Society President has assigned a special mission specifically for the position commander. Location, Central Market at Rivendell Castle. Time limit, 30 minutes. Objective, locate President K within the Central Market of Rivendell Castle. Complete within the allotted time. The reward will be given upon finding her. And these instructions will self-destruct after the time expires. So find her quickly. Sincerely, President K. As soon as he finished reading the letter, a countdown timer on it began ticking down. Lena peered curiously at the letter, wondering about the magical ink used. I wonder what's got her in such a rush, Lena said, to give you a time limit like that. He suddenly realized something and blurted out, wait, don't we have less than 30 minutes left? The numbers continued to decrease rapidly. Lena anxiously exclaimed, "There are only 27 minutes left." He dropped his hands, his face falling. "Oh man, we're doomed." Estio asked suspiciously, "Is it that far?" Lena shook her head and immediately began to explain. "It's not like that. The central market of Rivendell Castle is enormous, with 8 main roads branching out in different directions. The narrow alleys are like a spiderweb, crowded with countless people." Barker quickly spoke up. "More importantly, we don't even know what the guild master looks like." Lena replied, "Exactly. The guild master usually only communicates through puppets." Barker continued, "Right? Because only the vice guild master has ever met the guild master in person." Before Barker could finish, Stio swiftly darted past. Barker called out to him in a panic. Commander Stio only replied with a short statement. "A quick announcement. I'm going to the central market." Suddenly, he stopped and turned to look at Green, who was standing among the crowd. Estio looked him straight in the eyes, his voice firm. "Every plant in this garden is grateful to you. They all cherish you deeply." Green was so astonished he could barely speak, stammering. "Oh, really? You mean the ginkgo tree behind me, or even the flowers Nisa trampled? Feel the same as I do, longing to hear a word of thanks? They want to thank you too. For all this time." Green listened to Estio's words, a warmth spreading through him. An unexpected joy bloomed in his heart. After conveying his own feelings, as well as the sentiments of everything in the garden, Estio turned and ran, leaving behind only 2 words: goodbye. Estio's group was strolling through the central market. Dark thoughts consumed Estio, filling him with unease. His hand, clutching the letter, tightened unconsciously. A whirlwind of chaotic thoughts raced through his mind. Estio remained silently lost in thought. To find the head of the Beggars' Union in this sea of people, in this chaotic crowd, I would have to read each person's mind. Your ability is like a double-edged sword, capable of deeply wounding your own mind. Stio took a deep breath, trying to stay calm. He opened his eyes wide, beginning to receive the massive influx of information. Line by line, the thoughts of everyone in the bustling market appeared vividly before him. Stio focused all his senses, listening intently to every sound, every thought. A man groaned, "It's so hot. I'm going to die." Another man plotted, "There's so much wealth here. No one would notice if I borrowed a little, would they?" The city's cacophony was like a tidal wave, flooding the entire space. "Come on, come all. It doesn't cost anything to look. I'm not asking you to pay any fee. So come and see." Even the most secret thoughts, even the faintest human sounds were amplified 1,000-fold. "This sword, it's disgusting," he exclaimed. Stio had no intention of giving up. He closed his eyes, focusing his mind to meticulously filter the information. Time was running out. His ability seeped into every corner of the market like invisible tendrils. Gathering enough energy, his eyes suddenly flew open. There was only one image in his mind now, Eri. He jolted as he felt a warm liquid trickle from his nose. Nizu, standing beside him, worriedly spoke up, reminding Stio. "Stio, nosebleed." He simply wiped away the blood with his hand, calmly replying, "I'm fine." Nizu's eyes started to well up. The boy whimpered, panicked, "You're bleeding? You're not okay." Ignoring his crybaby friend beside him, Stio stared intently in one direction. His eyes sharp, he thought to himself, "Found you." Without a word, he strode forward. Parker frantically called out Estio's name, his voice filled with desperation. In a hidden corner of the bustling central market, Estio stopped in front of a charming little stall. A sweet voice, smooth as honey, called out a greeting from within. A girl with shimmering golden hair smiled brightly and asked Estio, "Are you looking for a special gift, young man?" The girl's smile widened as she continued, "Or are you searching for something for yourself?" Estio stared at the girl, his gaze unwavering. He was certain that this was the guild leader's puppet. Estio took out the letter and held it forward, slowly saying, "I'm here to see Guild Leader Kai." The girl maintained her smile, silently looking at Estio without a word. The silence made Estio feel uneasy and anxious. "Isn't he here?" he wondered silently. "But I'm sure I felt his presence here before." Suddenly, Estio sensed an unusual movement. He turned to the side and saw a pair of small hands placing something in his hair, a pretty pink ribbon. Kai flashed a mischievous grin and said to Estio, "Here, this is a well-deserved reward for finding me. Take it." At the stop, Staya offered a friendly greeting. "It's a pleasure to meet you, Commander." She returned his introduction. "This is Kai, the guild leader of Ignis." Just as Estio was about to speak, another voice cut in. Master. Jin appeared seemingly out of nowhere, calling out joyfully. Her face beamed with a truly bright and happy smile. Seeing that smile, Parker and Lena gasped in astonishment, stammering, She's smiling. As soon as the words left their mouths, Jin ran to hug Kai tightly. He stood beside them, watching the two embrace warmly, then began to introduce himself. I'm Staya. When I was wandering, lost after leaving my homeland with nowhere to go, the Society's approval has been a great help. Though it came a bit late, I'm truly grateful to you, Kai. Kai responded softly with a polite smile. Don't mention it. It's what the XN Society does. We've placed a great deal of trust in you. Seeing she seemed unaware, he decided to come clean. I'm also a member of the XN Society. Madam President. Hearing his words, she froze, stunned for a moment. Realizing her slip-up, she quickly laughed it off. I made a little mistake. Commander, you are also a valued member of XNIS. Thank you for helping me understand. With that, she rose from her seat. Kai walked straight towards him, probing. Is there anything else you wish to ask? I've made all the necessary preparations to meet with you. All right, lead the way. Styo didn't hesitate, voicing his question. Why did you entrust me with the position of guild leader? Faced with his direct question, she gently raised her hand, signaling for silence, and replied, Oh, that's a very interesting question. It's similar to the reason why I sought you out. Kai paused, observing their surroundings, then suggested, if others were to overhear this conversation, it wouldn't be good. So, use the special ability of the guild leader. Hearing her words, he hesitantly guessed. The special ability you're referring to it's what's hidden beneath this cloak. She nodded slightly, a mysterious smile playing on her lips. Under the clear blue sky, Estio remained motionless. But just a few seconds later, the sky was suddenly engulfed in darkness, as if swallowing him whole. Within that pitch-black space, there was only him and Kai. Suddenly, a voice echoed, The gentle voice belonged to Kai, the girl who wished to protect him. And then, she began to tell him about her organization. Our society was founded with a noble purpose, to support and assist individuals with special abilities. We extend the protective wings of Ignis, sheltering them. And within the organization, the commander position was established with his sole mission to protect you. Because long ago, Kai's expression and voice became mysterious and enigmatic. Encountered a being with an ability similar to yours, Kai revealed. Hearing these words, Estio furrowed his brow, a look of surprise flickering across his face. Kai continued her story. Long ago, it was said that dragons had become extinct from this world. However, 2 dragons survived. Curiosity piqued, Estio asked who they were. Kai calmly replied, her voice slow and deliberate. One perished. The other lives on to this day, remaining in this world until the very last moment. Is the golden dragon, Sahanan. I used to think he was the last one, until I received the report about you. He trembled slightly, about to ask more, meaning ease. But Estio abruptly interrupted, uttering strange words. Estio, stay away from Sahanan. She pointed at him and sternly warned. I understand how you feel right now. You must really want to meet him and learn about him. However, you must absolutely not be curious about this, and never seek him out. Understand? Sahanan doesn't know you exist. If he knew that another black dragon was alive, he listened intently to every word she said. Immediately afterward, his eyes became lifeless, empty. He would certainly find a way to take your life. However, she still tried to reassure him. Fortunately, Sahanan doesn't reside in the Ruberazan Empire, because keeping him hidden forever would be impossible. I've decided it's best to make it public that he's under our protection, that he's under our care. Especially in this empire, his safety must be ensured. After a long explanation, she finally decided to command Styo for the aforementioned reasons. I believe from this moment forward, I will stand by your side. But hidden beneath his concealing cloak, no one could see, his hands clenching tightly, trying to maintain his composure. Why? Confused and filled with uncertainty, he wondered, why do I deserve this protection? I don't even know who I really am. What does the guild master believe in? That she would risk the entire guild. For me? Kai took a step forward and spoke, yes. It seems you haven't realized your own worth. She stood before him, resolute and firm, affirming her statement. However, please remember this. I wouldn't act if it wasn't beneficial to me as well. With that, she gave a bright, gentle smile, light as a breeze, deftly concealing a secret to end the conversation. A moment later, they returned to the harsh reality of their situation. Kai spoke up, his voice full of energy and enthusiasm. Let's do this together. We'll figure it out, step by step. She looked up at him, amusement dancing in her eyes, and said softly, perhaps, even if I told you everything right now, you wouldn't be able to grasp it. She was right. Stio had been silent until now, lost in a whirlwind of thoughts, unable to understand. As Kai turned to leave, Parker and Lena immediately stood at attention, waiting for her instructions. You two should go and rest. I apologize for everything that happened today. They hurriedly bowed, showing their absolute respect for her, and before leaving, she waved her hand slightly, smiling as she made a promise. I'll see you soon, Commander. Time passed quietly. Night followed day in the mighty Ruberazin Empire. The bright rays of the sun pierced through the darkness, shining down everywhere. From within a luxurious villa, hushed voices drifted out. Estio had been asleep for several days. Nizu was leading a serious discussion with Suki and Ahuru. What should we do? Nizu turned, his gaze filled with worry as he looked towards the sleeping figure. Should we wake him up? Estio remained in bed, completely unaware of the conversation taking place, still lost in a peaceful slumber. Suki gently swayed his tail, lost in thought. Suddenly, he jumped up and bounded forward. He sat down beside the bed, tilting his head as he gazed intently at the evenly breathing figure. Abruptly, Suki turned to look at Nizu and slowly shook his head. The gesture was a silent refusal of Nizu's suggestion. No need. Let him sleep. It's enough for us to just be here with him. But Nizu didn't know the relentless worry that was building in Suki's heart. If this continues, I'm afraid it will be very dangerous. In this critical moment, can AI offer a solution? He glanced at his two somewhat incompetent teammates, then decided on Lena. A musclehead, he thought, definitely won't be able to comprehend my signal. Perhaps the Birdman would be a wiser choice, since they possess incredibly sharp senses. Suki looked back once more, lost in deep thought. Just then, Seo suddenly awoke, dispelling all of Suki's worries. I'm all right, Suki. Under the vibrant red glow of the setting sun, a remorseful voice echoed. I'm sorry for waking up late. Estio sheepishly hugged his small pets tightly. Nizu burst into tears in his arms, tears of relief streaming down his cheeks. What's going on? Because you wouldn't wake up? I thought you were sick. Suki nuzzled against him, adding to Nizu's words. I thought you caught my hibernation sickness. It's okay now. Everything's all right. Estio shrugged slightly, his face flushed, trying to reassure his two friends. I'm fine, he said, then hugged Suki and stumbled to his feet. Witnessing this, Nizu exclaimed with worry. Estio, startled, saw him quickly reach for his coat. One of them cried out in alarm, their voice filled with surprise. Hey, it's already dark. Where are you going? Ahuru tried to turn around, pleading with him earnestly. You woke up late anyway. Get some more rest. But he, with one hand holding his coat and the other holding Suki, remained resolute. I'm going to find food for. Suddenly, he interrupted. You're burning up, being held by Estio all this time. He seemed to feel the heat radiating from him, questioning with a worried expression. Are you sick? Why are you trying to act like everything's okay? Hearing his words, he paused for a moment, then let out a small sound. Just then, a knock on the door echoed, catching everyone's attention. Estio put Suki down, opening the door while calling out. Who's there? Kai appeared, holding a paper in her hand, a bright smile blooming on her face as she offered it to him. Your mission assignment has arrived. The smile on her lips faltered as she took in his current state. She saw his flushed face, his rapid breathing, each breath heavy with exertion. Noticing his fatigue, Kai quickly lowered her hand, speaking with concern. It seems I came to see you a little too early. With that, she tucked the paper back in her pocket, changing the subject. Today, we'll put aside your work for a while. Seeing her sudden change of topic, Stio only managed to utter a few words, mission, before she cut him off. Where are you going? He put on his cloak and walked outside with his three pets. I'm going to the dining hall. Hearing his plan, Kai suggested, Oh, let's go together then. The food in our dining hall is the best, isn't it? Finished speaking, she immediately pictured a vast array of delicious and enticing dishes. Honestly, I wish I could go there more often, but for some reason, every time I visit, I attract a lot of attention, which makes me feel a little uncomfortable. Ahuru seemed to realize the reason and asked her, I really don't understand why. He immediately offered a solution, getting straight to the point. Just a little subtlety. Try wearing normal clothes. The naive girl asked, Are my clothes strange? And of course, Ahuru didn't hesitate to confirm. Extremely bizarre. However, she could only helplessly reply, But I can't change my clothes. Hearing that, he asked why. The girl casually uttered 2 words. They're expensive. Ahuru, completely exasperated, gave in. Fine, have it your way. Do as you please. After all, it's your life. He watched as she strode ahead, radiating a vibrant aura, and then muttered to himself, A kid dressed like that is bound to attract a lot of attention. Human nature is always drawn to the unusual. Moments later, the group arrived at a bustling, crowded dining hall. Everyone, make yourselves at home. Eat your fill. A lavish feast, overflowing with food, was spread before them. Food was piled high, covering the entire table. Seo looked at the mountain of food and spoke hesitantly. I can't eat this much. Kai replied casually, Don't worry about it. Just eat what you can. I just want you to eat as much as you can. No one's forcing you. Then, she turned to Suki sitting next to her and said softly, You too, Black Tiger. But the way he looked at her clearly showed displeasure. Sensing the tension inwardly, Sto muttered in frustration. Just as I suspected, she already knows everything. He picked up the spoon and gently placed it in the bowl of soup. The thought flashed through his mind, Golden Dragon, Sahane. Sto took a small spoonful of soup and brought it to his lips. He thought to himself, I don't think that name is simply based on color. After a moment of contemplation, he looked up and addressed the person across from him. Guild leader, your mouth is full of food. She corrected him. Call me Kai. If possible, I'd rather not reveal my true identity. Understanding, Sto put down his spoon and got straight to the point. All right, Kai. How do you know about the dragons? Swallowing the food in her mouth, Kai chuckled in response. I was wondering what you were so deep in thought about. Are you serious now? Sto replied coldly, Yes. Kai picked up a piece of fish and casually remarked. He seemed unconcerned with his own predicament. The young commander, lost in thought, skillfully made a clean cut across the fish. Kai meticulously used her chopsticks to split the fish in 2 with effortless grace. There was nothing more that could be done about this. After dividing the fish, she pushed a portion towards the shadowy 4-legged figure sitting there and said, This is just a little knowledge that I happen to accumulate throughout my long and eternal life. Suki stared intently at the delicately presented meal. Without a word, he swatted the unwelcome fish away with his paw. He then coldly hopped on Nizu's back. Nizu felt compelled to explain on his behalf. Suki doesn't eat fish. Kai looked surprised. I thought all cats like fish. The knowledgeable Nizu enlightened her. That's just a common misconception. With that, understanding dawned on her. I see. I get it now. From her recent actions, she crafted a vivid illustration for Stio. As you can see, even I hold on a misinformation. As she spoke, she pierced a piece of bread with a fork, her tone rambling slightly. Living a long life means I've accumulated more experience than others. Therefore, the information I have about you might not be entirely accurate. Suddenly, her grip on the fork tightened. However, her eyes and the atmosphere around her grew heavy and tense. I can assure you, Kim Yong-soo is your enemy. Her tone shifted once more. Furthermore, Kai revealed a surprising piece of information. Starting tomorrow, I plan to join the commander's support team. Sayo quickly inquired, Parker's team? Kai grabbed more food, giving a slight nod of confirmation. Exactly. This is also to support you. Unlike the chairman, Kai hesitated, his voice dropping to a cryptic, low tone. With a flash of understanding, it seemed she had finished eating and was heading towards a door. Hello. Please enjoy your dinner. See you tomorrow. She had just left when Suki spoke up. Do we need to finish our meal now as well? Sto quickly stopped her. No need, take your time. And we could take a walk after we finish eating. The entire sky was gradually painted a brilliant red by the beautiful and incredibly peaceful sunset. He and his spirit beast strolled through the guild grounds. After finishing dinner, inside the guild grounds, a scene of tranquility and peace unfolded. Playful monkeys frolicked with snow-white rabbits, while large bears and gentle horses drank together from a small stream. And somewhere, a few ducks were leisurely swimming. Witnessing this scene, he was slightly taken aback, almost unable to believe his eyes. I can't believe these creatures could coexist and thrive in such an environment. Lost in thought, Sto was startled by a bright voice from below. Hello there. An adorable little red panda appeared at Estio's feet, beaming a cheerful smile. Estio's mind filled with question marks, completely taken aback by the small creature's sudden appearance. Estio bent down slightly and exclaimed, "A raccoon." Hearing Estio call him a raccoon, the red panda immediately protested with an indignant expression. It angrily retorted, "Huh, a raccoon? I'm a red panda." The red panda's scolding left Estio flustered. He quickly replied in a conciliatory tone, Sorry, my mistake." Receiving Estio's sincere apology, the red panda's anger quickly dissipated. It cheerfully replied, looking pleased, "You are forgiven." Then, the red panda introduced himself. "My name is Ban. Who are you?" Estio calmly answered Ban's question. "I'm Estio. I was recently transferred to headquarters." The young man wondered to himself, could this be